This mechanism is built to activate should the first barrier fall and time once again tick in the space of the aureole. The second barrier's other name is the gravity barrier, and it can manifest gravity inside the other dimension. Should the aureole resume activity, by tying this other dimension down with linchpins of gravity, the goal was to prevent its return to reality. Welcome back to The Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky SC. We defeated Volta the Direwolf last time, and now it's time to head further into the Axis Pillar. As you can see, I've changed up my party yet again, and I've got someone kind of interesting for my fourth member here. So obviously we've got Shera, so let's show her first. So Shera has most of my ATS boosting items, and yeah, she has almost 800 ATS. In terms of her Orban though, she doesn't have Death Scream, which is a little annoying, but she's got a lot of other decent stuff. I've basically just put Defense 4 on her for Earth Wall, just so that I have that, but I have Orbital down too, which is nice, and other than that, pretty much got a lot of the good stuff here. But my fourth member here is Mueller. Now, the reason for this is that we've already seen Julia in 2 fights, that being the Orgueil one, and, well, actually multiple fights there, but you get the idea, and the first fight in front of the Axis Pillar. Mueller, though, we've only used him once so far, so I wanted to at least give him another chance to shine. Now, I'm not expecting any stellar dialogue from him. In fact, to be honest, Agate had some pretty lame dialogue against the Volta fight, but at least he's a physical attacker, which will help for this next fight, because like always, when facing Luciola, you want to make sure that you have a balance of both physical and magical attackers. He's got fairly standard stuff overall. I don't. If I could upgrade this slot, then I could actually get the water gem on him. Actually, considering that I don't have the water gem on him, maybe somebody else should take that. Although I don't know. I mean, I like this setup on Estelle right now. It does nerf her attacking stats, but I already have Joshua and Mueller for physical damage here. But yeah, let's go. Mueller's central slot is restricted to water, which is kind of interesting. Often see water restrictions on physical attackers. Oh nice, level up on Shera. She's going to be leveling up quite a bit going through here. I was tempted to fight some Shining Palms with her, but I decided, you know what, maybe not. I'll see how well she does with just the enemies in the... I keep calling it the tower. I mean, I guess it's technically a tower. Okay, Mueller is instant death both enemies that he's fought so far in this segment. That's a good sign. Wow, yeah, that is the difference between the time gem and no time gem. Having the time gem pretty much restricts you to purely support casting. I can actually get Estelle's ATS almost as high as Shera's right now with the right equipment, so that's actually kind of decent as an option. But we have our next elevator. So while we're going up, I forgot to talk about Volta's tarot symbolism in the last part. Volta's Enforcer number corresponds to the Strength Arcana, and reverse strength means things like wild emotions, or acting on surges of emotion, or lashing out at others out of anger, or other extreme emotions like that, and that certainly fits Volta. He reacted very rashly when he found out that he wasn't going to inherit the dojo and decided to jump straight to challenging his master to a duel, instead of really calming down and thinking about things. And here we have actually a new enemy that looks kind of interesting. I love the really weird alien designs of the enemies in this place. Artiball. Now this thing can actually do some interesting stuff, but we might not see that depending on how this goes. Okay, I don't think I have any fire arts on you, so you're just gonna have to go for, are you resistant to wind? No, I think that should be fine, man. Will we get 3 for 3 instant deaths on Mueller? No, but he still does pretty solid, overall damage. Will this even work on you guys? I highly doubt it's gonna work, but I can at least try and show it. Wow, that actually looks pretty cool, and it did work. Yeah, there are sadly quite a few enemies who are immune to that, but it might actually not be a bad idea on some... I just realized something. I just realized that a certain infamous boss towards the end of this place is not immune to debuffs, which means by extension he's not immune to that. I don't see a lot of people use that on him though, so maybe it's not that effective. We'll see. Because we all know how effective strength debuffs were in FC. Looks like this thing is very resistant to magic. But it also has access to Blue Blanc's, I think I'll just, actually no, I'll Love Fort. It's better than Morale, and yeah, I want to save a still CP for later. Let's see how much this does. Yeah, it looks like you just are very resilient to arts in general. But it has access to Blue Blanc's transformation ability. Yep, here it is. Chippy De Bubby Do. It's such a weird attack name, but yeah. That turns you into a Fire Emblem Path of Radiance Oliver. Just stretching out your sprite like that. I think that drastically lowers your speed and agility. Doesn't seem to lower your damage all that much. But I do know the one that turns you tiny drastically lowers your attack power. Yeah, his attack power seemed fine.
That was the sword of Bender.
And hey, that's his victory quote for the first time. I don't think we've seen it before. And yeah, that's actually Travis Willingham. Before Travis Willingham started getting replaced by Patrick Seitz in a lot of things, which is kind of interesting because Patrick Seitz and Travis Willingham have actually been on games together for a while before that started happening.
That's that then. Let's move out.
Okay, more levels for Shera is good. Let's take this side passage, and in here, yeah, I had a feeling. This is definitely going to be monsters. I was talking over the monster chest back on Blue Blanc's floor. So I guess I can talk about these enemies a little more here. These are called Master Trappers, which leads me to believe they're like the original entities that the Robber Trappers and the Towers were based on. Okay, let's see. Ragnavine, Houndgale, Blade... yeah, there's really not much here that's it's in a decent-sized AoE, but I guess I can show off Houndgale. In fact, I don't think I've actually talked about this before, so it's not really that much of a spoiler to say that Mueller and, oh, hi there, big pudding thing, that Mueller and, I almost forgot her name for a second, Julia, are playable in Trails in the Sky the Third. Now, in the third, that's annoying that I can't quite get Mueller in that. I'd probably rather buff him alone. But yeah, Mueller and Julia are playable in Trails in the Sky the Third, and in that game, they both have unique properties on their chain crafts that make their chain crafts the best chain crafts in the entire game. They do not have these properties in this game. I have tested that and I can confirm it. So, for those who are used to Trails in the Sky the Third, these two aren't quite as powerful here as they are there. So that's unfortunate. I guess I can say this because I probably won't be playing the third for a little while, but in the third, Mueller's Chaincraft hits the enemy that's selected as the initial target twice, and for Julia, everything in the Chaincraft gets hit twice if she's part of it. Or I think she has to be the one who initiates the Chaincraft in order for that to work, but you get the idea. So yeah, her one hits twice. Does not hit twice in this game. As I demonstrated when I was fighting the boss of Chapter 3. I may have to S-break again with Joshua here, but... oh, dang it, I don't have Houndgale. Can I finish off? No, I guess I can finish off you. Mueller does hit pretty hard when he's strength buffed, so that's something. Yep, I am S-breaking now. Killed off the trappers, but... oh, and it killed off the one that was casting, which is good. Well, not exactly casting, but using its weird equivalent of arts. Okay, now I can probably finish these things off. Love Fort with a time gem is basically an equivalent to, morale. Okay, that's that one down, and Luciola should be able to take this one out.
That was the sword of Bender.
And that is a very, very nice amount of experience to share it there. So in that we get Prometheus. This chest was once full of wondrous treasures. Then it gave the gift of fire to man and got its entrails pecked out by birds for all eternity. Yep, there's Prometheus, and it's not actually male only. I thought it would be male only. Plus 5 speed and plus 30 ATR. Actually, that's really solid. Is that better than Parthenon? It's not quite better than Parthenon gear for ATS, but I can at least give it to you, although your magic damage is muted anyway, so maybe, yeah, maybe it is better for Joshua right now. And with that, I can give the Spiegel shoes to somebody else. So, something that I wanted to talk about going through here is... Hi there. I don't think I've ever seen one of these things actually attack, so good on you for demonstrating that. Well, fighting that battle was worth it. So, the thing I was planning on talking about the Oriole. It interestingly puts into context a lot of the experiments from the earlier chapters. In particular...
There is nothing my sword cannot cut.
So that first experiment was projecting images using the power of a gospel, which didn't really sound like anything sinister, but when you think about it, that was just a small fraction of what the Oriole was doing all the time. An early test of creating complex virtual realities and illusions. So it makes sense for that to be the first experiment. And then in Chapter 4, you had Luciola using her powers to create mist that trapped people in a dreamlike state where all of their greatest desires came true. That right there is much more clearly an example of what the people of this city had to go through all the time. Don't flip your lid, flip mine. The chest may not have anything in the way of riches or possessions, but it's filled to the brim with hope for the future and love for the world. There's nothing in this chest, but sometimes it's good to pretend. A lot more Seepeth, that's good, because Olivier's slots are incredibly expensive to open. If you can read this, well. Does that mean if you can read this well, or if you can read this well now, or something like that, or well. Must we go through this again? It's empty, but if you put your head in here, you can hear the ocean. Well, that'd be a bit of a feat, but I guess that's that orbal liquid down there. So, Shine Sphere. That sounds like weirdly Super Mario Sunshine-ish. Here it is, Shine Sphere. Strength plus 20 prevents sleep, blind, and freeze. That's actually kind of nice, but we need immunity to both sleep and confuse going forward, so I'd rather have Tiger Heart plus Master Beads on my physical attackers at this point. It's a solid item, but... Again, there's other stuff I'd probably want to have more than that.
Not done yet.
It's just interesting to think that those visions that we saw, like Estelle's vision at the end of Chapter 4, that is essentially the state that the citizens of this place were trapped in. It's just kind of amazing to think that. It reminds me a bit of one of the Reason endings in Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne. I think it's Musabi. I know Shinjima is the silence one, and Yosuga is the might makes right one, but the one where everyone is trapped in their own individual parallel universes, where everything in that universe is entirely, like, to their own desires, except that they are, like, the only physical entity in that realm. And, like, nobody has any contact with other beings in any way, just with, like, everything in their own personal world created how they want it. And that is kind of how I picture life under the Oriole being. Everybody just trapped in their own personal virtual reality. And it is a scary thing to think about. You have everything you want, but, like, are you really even alive in that state? Something that's even more terrifying is that apparently people were so dependent on the Oriole that when the society that lived on the Liber Arc, when they were freed from the Oriole and made a new life for themselves on the ground, a huge amount of the population just died because they didn't have any of the practical life skills to survive without the Oriole. Ugh, yeah, this whole backstory is really terrifying. But anyway, we're gonna switch off of Phantom Raid for now and go for True Sever. And unfortunately, I can't change, oh, okay, I can use a single here, but I really want a Judgment card Luciola, so I guess I'll do that. And Estelle, all of hers are single target anyway. So yeah, we want single target attacks here, and in terms of battle position, we can probably afford to bunch up a little bit more in this fight. Shera's gonna be here to Heaven's Kiss, and these two are gonna be up front because they're gonna be my two main physical attackers here, / cancellers in the case of Mueller. And I think we're about ready to head inside. It's that telltale bell again. We know the drill by now. Hi there, Luciola. It's time to finally settle this. We are about to finally learn the truth about Luciola's darkness. But will the answers that we're after satisfy us? Clearly told you more about it than Sheriff, but in that case, if he was leaving anyway, why would you have to kill him? I mean, things would have happened the same way. He was still gonna leave. Yep, they're back again. That's actually a pretty decent line. So, okay, we're actually going before her. Luciola has a new trick in this fight, but first we have to deal with Zakum and Juboko yet again. They are up to their old tricks, but Luciola herself... So, she has a second S-Craft now. Some people were wondering about that in the first fight, but yeah, they were mistaking that for the second fight. She won't use the second S-Craft until this one, and yeah, this could be an issue. I really want to get Clock Up EX and Clock Down in, but I think I'll start with you going for Clock Up EX on yourself. And Mueller he doesn't have any EX skills really, so Mueller, I kind of want to just stay where I am because I need to buff, but I can also... I mean, I don't know if I really want to pull things closer, but I wonder if this works. Actually, it does work! Nice! Okay. And that thing still uses Wave Charge, which can be cancelled. Okay, either Earthwall will come up too late. I'm gonna have to have Estelle be the one to go for Clock Down. Like, you absolutely want to make sure that you clock down Luciola here, because it's gonna help for something that she does later. So yeah, that is the second S-Craft. And something that I actually didn't realize when I was first, first fought her, Luciola is actually voiced by Karen Strassman. Her voice is very soft, so it was hard for me to tell. But now that I think about it, it does make a lot of sense. I'm gonna go ahead and Heaven's Kiss people, because that'll help us get our buffs out faster. But yeah, Karen Strassman, otherwise known as Aegis in Persona 3, Nanako in Persona 4, and Anna in the Fire Emblem series. Okay, we don't have Clock Down on that thing yet, but I think I want to focus on getting, actually no, let's go for Love Fort as well. And I can use Mirage Edge to cancel that from range, and it doesn't do any damage, so that's perfect. Won't heal you. So yeah, Mueller's actually kind of decent in this fight, although I will probably need to heal soon. I kind of forgot that I'd lost a ton of HP from that S-Craft. I feel like that S-Craft is magic-based, I'm not 100% sure, but it feels like it would make sense if it was magic-based. Okay, this could be a slight problem if she decides to go for an AoE attack. What to do here? So the one that heals from physical attacks is there, the one that's actually closest to the others, but it's already at full HP anyway, so I suppose an AoE S-Craft might not be the worst thing in the world right now. I think I'm actually going to go for it. Oh, I can actually get everything.
My soul and sword are as one.
So, sorry to talk over this, but getting a debuff on Luciola is going to really help, because she can also clone herself like Blue Blancs. That'll help us determine the real one, and determining the real one among the clones is incredibly important here, for reasons that we will soon see. Yeah, the Alba Unes are just kind of trash in this fight. They go down pretty quickly. And I want to also Orbal down everyone. Or do I heal? This is kind of tricky. I think I'm actually going to go ahead and heal Mueller. Do I have any food that buffs speed? I have Heavenly Tempura, which is better than nothing, but no, I think I'll just go for, I guess one of my Nirvana teas. Okay, what are you going to go for? Dreaming Deltol. That is fine, because that's going to do absolutely no... Well, it does debuff our defense, but yeah, it doesn't really do that much if you're, immune to status ailments. Okay, get that off. don't do anything bad. I'm glad I healed you, and you're just gonna try and use that again. I think I'd rather have you... Okay, if we're getting a crit turn here, I may as well swipe that with Joshua. For a pretty solid amount of damage here. The good thing about this fight is that once her fog monsters are down, they never come back, at least as far as I can tell, so that definitely helps the fight going forward. Arts defense down, obviously you're immune to the other effect of that, but that's fine. I think I'm going to go ahead and heal Mueller. I kind of have a slight idea here. I don't know if this will do it. No, but it's close. Just gonna shuffle over a bit. Okay, yeah, this here, Shadow Replication. So, I mentioned this in the first fight with Luciola, but you really, really, really don't want to use Death Screen here. Because unlike Blue Blanc, if you hit one of Luciola's clones, the damage transfers to one of your party members. So you want to use single target attacks here. Single target. So I'm going to go for a single target strike on the real one, and I know it's the real one because I debuffed her earlier. That's why the debuffs are important, but also her losing speed is important as well. And yes, once you hit the real one, just like Blue Blanc, the clones vanish. So that's also really, really important. Because otherwise, you won't be able to safely use AoE attacks, or you'll do massive damage to your own party. Speaking of which... I was gonna go for a judgment card there, but then I thought, you know what, that might not be a great idea. I can now safely use AoE attacks, though. So let's go for Titanic Roar. Okay, that actually does heal this thing. Do I... How many more of those Zerum? I have 5. Okay, I can probably safely do this. Let's see. Let us go for Zerum Powder. I don't want to waste Joshua's turn, so I'll Zerum Powder you. S-Break with you. And then Shara S-Break.
Is in my hands.
It's the Bullmark Harder! And that is goodbye one of you, which is good. I can summon more of those, but they're pretty much jokes. Okay, so you're the one who is affected badly by art, so now it's time for Death Scream spam. Although I am a little low on health, I might need to watch out for that. I don't have any, who's speed... Okay, right now, everyone but Estelle is speed buffed. I think I'd rather use this turn to heal people than to do other stuff like attack.
We're good to go.
I want Shara to survive here, obviously. And there's that again. As long as you know to attack the real one, that attack is really not that dangerous. But it does effectively shut off your AoE spellcasting. In fact, in a situation like this, I'd probably rather True Dual Strike Luciola just to get rid of the clones immediately. So that I can safely use area attacks. Okay, Joshua has his S-Break now. And yeah, Mueller can just safely go to town on the real Luciola here. Those things can cancel your art, so that's a bit of a problem, but Estelle's already cast all her buffs, so I think she can just start spamming Earth Wall on people. Who, let's see, I think I'd rather get it off on those two. Get that up. That is fine. Now I can safely use big area attacks like this. But I would kind of like that thing to go down quickly. Weirdly, Luciola herself is not that much of a threat for the time being. Didn't even try and cancel me, I don't think it was close enough for it. I mostly just don't want them summoning more Alraunes. The slight problem with Mueller, though, is that he is kind of useless against the thing that heals from physical attacks. There's Hellfire again. Who's that going on? I guess that's a full field area, which makes sense, but it's still pretty annoying. I can get you both in Diamond Dust, although I don't know if this is going to do any more damage. And that didn't knock you out of the area, which is pretty good. Okay, that is decent damage, and yeah, it looks like Luciola might actually go down before the Juboko does, which is kind of weird. No, let's not Titanic Roar, let's... Another true Jewel Strike will easily finish her off, so... Should probably use this turn to bring Estelle back. Or I can attempt to cancel. But no, I think I'll True Jewel Strike you. Okay, both of you down, which is not good, but I can just get you back up with my... How many Resurrect Jellies do I have? I think I have... I still have regular Refresh Jellies, which aren't a terrible idea right now either. And now it's basically just spam single target attacks on this thing until it dies. Not fire, apparently. Yeah, should have paid more attention to that. Obviously, we want to go for, and there's really not much reason not to use your turns to revive, because you're pretty much useless at this point, but yeah. Earth. Earth is obviously way better here. Earth and time. Yeah, you can't even do damage without having to, charge ups, and as long as Mueller keeps cancelling you, which means he's actually not completely useless here. Not that, I'm going for, Earth Lance. And cancel. Yeah, we can easily keep this thing locked now. This is pretty much over. So yeah, as always, Luciola, like, her main threat is if you don't know the gimmick to her clones. That can very easily rack up damage if you decide, oh, I'm just gonna go ahead and Death Scream. But AoE attacks were already bad in these fights anyway, so it doesn't really change that much about how you have to approach this fight. Hellfire is kind of dangerous, though. That definitely caught me a little bit on my first playthrough of this game. Did not expect a second S-Craft from her. But, yep, that is over now. So overall, Luciola's an interesting fight. It's not really that hard once you know how to deal with it, but it's very unique, I'll just say. But still, it's overall probably my least favorite of the Enforcer fights in this game. No, there was another motive here. So, that is our fight with the Bewitching Belle over. Whether or not she's dead, it's a little ambiguous. You might have heard that bell chime as she fell. There is the distinct possibility that entire sequence of her hanging off the edge could have all been an illusion. Something to note is that if you don't bring Shera to that fight, that whole sequence doesn't happen. Like, the whole hanging off the edge with the whip, all of that, entirely exclusive to bringing Shera. So, something to think about, but yeah, Luciola is a bit of a weird one overall, and actually one of my least favorite of the Enforcers, just because in the end it turns out her big motivation for doing everything was that she was a yandere. I mean, that's a bit of an oversimplification, but that is kind of what happened. It was an well, it wasn't so much an if I can't have you, no one will. It's if I kill you, you will be mine forever, which is very yandere. It is, I don't know, I do feel like she probably has the weakest motivation of all of the Enforcers. I mean, Volta's motivation is pretty weak as well, but at least I just found him kind of interesting in his whole dynamic with Xin. He was that kind of typical kung fu rival, but I felt like he did that really well. With Luciola, though, I do feel like I don't think I'm meant to sympathize with her at all. She is still an unrepentant murderer who did it because she was in love with the guy and he said no, but I think the real tragedy is meant to be the fact that somebody who was like a big sister to Shera turned out that way, and that's what Shera herself stresses. And I do like the moment Shera gets in these scenes with her. And that you get to see a side of Shera that you would not otherwise get to see. Shera's someone who pretty much has herself figured out most of the time, but you do get glimpses of the younger Shera who was still having trouble figuring things out and still had wavering resolve whenever Luciola shows up. And it is interesting to see her finally move past all that. So I do like the development that she gives to Shera. I think Shera's a pretty good character overall. But Luciola is definitely my least favourite Enforcer who appears in this game, both from a gameplay and a story standpoint. I'm sorry to be so negative. Like, even then, though, it's not terrible or anything. I still think it's perfectly fine. It's more that just the other Enforcers are so good that she just doesn't really stand out in comparison. So as you can see, I am completely betraying Shera's own advice here, and I'm actually taking her back to the Arceal to rest. Because, I want to use a different party for this next fight. And you'll see what party that I use. Well, you can probably already guess. But yeah, you'll see that next time. So, join me next time for the final stretch of the Axis Pillar. See you all then.